Good morning. Um, Only a quick one this morning, really. There's not amazing amounts to go through. A lot of sideways and choppy movements yesterday, but there are a couple of things that I quite like the look of that we're just going to run through. So, dollar CAD, very much just flitting around, not really doing a lot yesterday. We finally saw some strength come into the US dollar, not just in dollar CAD, but across dollar Swiss, and we were also looking at Euro USD. We saw some strength come into those currency pairs. My computer's completely crashed. We saw some strength come into those currency pairs, or more specifically into the US dollar yesterday and into last night. This morning that seems to have died off ever so slightly. Certainly surrounding the Euro USD. But there are some key levels and key areas for us to keep mindful and keep an eye on. Now, 126, as we mentioned before, with dollar CAD is a key level for us. That is where we need to get above. If we were to run a little box through, you can see between 126.30 and 126 that we have quite a lot of noise and quite a lot of volume in and around this area. Certainly recently, but this drags all the way across. So this is a noisy region. Now, I'm probably quite likely to take long positions away from 126 should we just break above that level, because the chances are that we're going to find quite a lot of orders in this region that will fire us through to the 30 level pretty quickly anyway. So if we go 30 pips up and need to take profit, then so be it. I would rather do that than miss the move completely. If we can break through the 26.30 level, then we will soon fire back into 126.80. And obviously that 127 region, if we can break back above there, then that is huge for the pair. We'll likely see us back towards 128 or even as high as 129. If we reject from where we are currently, which is looking like a possibility, certainly if we come out to the 4-hour time frame, it looks as if we could be in the realms of making a new low, or a lower high, should I say. So if that were to happen and we were to get a close in some form of engulfing formation here, our way, then obviously we would look to short back down to 24.50. We have options either way. Where we're rejecting from currently, if we were to just pull it down, you can see obviously again you've got that area and all those spikes, that volume and traffic around this region, giving us an indication that there's quite a lot of orders around this zone. Therefore, obviously, we have an area where we can look to potentially short away from. So, ideally, we would like an engulfing formation. I'd like to get below 25.60. That would be the ultimate goal. And then, obviously, once we're back below this 25.60 region, we should be pretty smooth sailing back to the downside. Maybe into 25.20, somewhere around that region. So we certainly have options available to us with the pair. That is obviously a slightly early entry for us to have that run at 124.50. Below 124.50, obviously, as we've spoken about before, into 23.50. So there's certainly options when it comes to dollar CAD at the moment. Dollar Swiss, we saw the break back above last night. For those that are a part of like the internship group, I spoke about potentially wanting to look at those for potential longs yesterday evening. We saw obviously a push back up and a break back through 92.30 yesterday, giving ourselves a perfect opportunity to now look to break back towards the highs, so somewhere around 92.70, 92.80, potentially as high as 93. I think we're probably more likely to just see some consolidation surrounding this pair, though. I would be much more comfortable looking at something like dollar CAD for a potential entry, as opposed to looking at one of these at the moment. I just feel like looking at dollar Swiss currently, yes, it has a decent risk to reward profile on it because of the fact that we can get in around 92, this rejection away from 92.40, get in with a 20 pip stop loss, and look for that log up. But we're probably likely to be tied up in that position for quite a long time, and therefore we have to work out whether that is the best use of our time and best use of our risk. As things stand, I'm not amazingly comfortable with it, but that's not to say that it's not got potential. I think for me at the moment, the key would be getting back above 92.60. If we can break above the previous highs, then I'm probably pretty content to take that back up, and we're probably likely to see 93 or 93.20 hit. So there's definitely potential surrounding the pair. Obviously, naturally, if we get breaks back below 92.30, then we have to consider that the short option might be the best use of our time. CAD Swiss, we dropped out this morning, and we are seeing a significant push to the downside in Swiss yen this morning. The Swiss franc has weakened off. You can see across, obviously, with the US dollar, Swiss, that we can see this mass influx of liquidity, and a similar thing has happened on Swiss yen now. So we've started to see that push to the downside. We're going to take these lows out, and I would very much envision that this continues down now until 1780. Around 1780, obviously, we're going to have a decision to make, but the momentum that's come into this sell-off this morning looks as if it's probably going to be maintained. Therefore, we're very much likely to see this head back down towards those lows. If you're already involved, then happy days. If you're not, then there's not really a lot that can be done about it. There's no reasonable entry now. Maybe get in around 1820 if you wanted to, but from 1820, obviously, that's you're banking on quite a significant stop loss. You don't want to have a 40 pip stop loss for around about the same return. So it's pretty pointless getting involved in the position unless you manage to get involved from around 1860. If you did, then like I say, happy days, hold the position out. The likelihood is now that we end up at 118. If we break back above the 60 level, then like I say, we can look to potentially long it. But for the time being, I would probably hazard a guess that the pair's probably likely to drop, consolidate maybe around somewhere around 118, 117.80, and then obviously we'll see where the next leg of that pair goes. Breaking back below 1810 is key to any further downside. If we fail to break back below 1810, I would be inclined to take my profits off the table, bank it, and then either re-enter once it goes with a tight stop loss, or look to re-enter at the highs. Is my Euro USD chart on here? Nope. Where's Euro dollar? 2 seconds. Euro dollar, like I say, we saw the dollar weaken off this morning, the euro gain a bit of strength, but we're just coming back to retest this previous area of breakout at 119 where this consolidation was yesterday. Once we break back below that, we should see a run down into 1880. 1880, obviously, we should break that 50 level. that magical 1850 level is what holds the keys to 1750. I do believe that the euro weakens off at some point today. Surrounding Euro Oz and Euro CAD, slightly different stories just because the Australian dollar is not particularly strong and their business confidence last night wasn't amazing. So we've seen obviously the Aussie dollar weaken off ever so slightly overnight and into today. We shall see what happens. With regards to the pair at the moment, everything hinges on getting back below 156.10 or 156. If we cannot break back below those levels, then there's not a short position. Likewise, though, getting into longs we can't really do until 56.70 has gone. We need to get above all of this noise before we look to take any potential long positions. Otherwise, we're just essentially trapped in a little wedge pattern. There's no point being in that when we can just wait out and get confirmation that we're actually going to see the position we want. If we just alter these about ever so slightly, and then just pull through here, you can see where we're in this little wedge, in this little ascending formation. So a break to the upside would signal obviously the long positions. The break to the downside would signal shorts. Everything in between just seems like noise at the moment. So back to Euro USD, as I say, if we break down below 1880, then that should lead us into that 1850 region. And if that level goes, then it will free fall down into 1750. Likely to happen kind of by the end of today or tomorrow, if that were to be the scenario that we were looking at. So we will need to wait and see how that one starts to play itself out today. But as things stand at the moment, I would be certainly more comfortable looking at short positions than I would long positions. There's just nothing about longs until 119.20, 119.30 is taken out that is even remotely pleasant. Looking at Euro CAD, as I say, each of these euro pairs at the moment seems to be a different story. It's not that the euro is particularly weak. It's just the fact that other currencies are weakening off or strengthening up, and we're seeing the euro in general is quite a neutral currency at the moment. It's not particularly strong, not particularly weak. So it's just hinging around the other things, which means that we're getting one pair go long, one pair go short, and seeing all these erratic style movements. There's not really any like fundamentals to settle the euro down for a little while at the moment. Obviously today we've got dollar CPI figures later this afternoon, but I think surrounding the euro there's not really anything this week that's likely to settle the euro down. So we just need to be a little bit cautious and a little bit mindful of that, so that we're not getting caught out by things. We're not getting caught out by potential silly movements. So Euro CAD back below 149 still holds a lot of promise. With regards to longs at the moment, I don't feel comfortable taking a long or even suggesting taking longs until 50 is taken out. Now I know that seems silly considering that we've got 70 pips between thereabouts, and there's obviously profit that we can be taking during that move. But as things stand, I just don't feel comfortable or confident enough in either direction to be comfortable taking or suggesting a trade. So as things stand, I would like to see either the lows at 149 taken out or the highs at 150.50. Everything in between just seems far too choppy and far too erratic to be able to make any informed or reasonable decision from. I think as things stand at the moment, dollar Swiss presents a very good opportunity, but it's limited and will be dictated by our stop loss on our risk to reward. I do want to get into pound New Zealand in a minute, and I also want to just take a quick look at euro New Zealand too. Dollar CAD all the potential in the world, but does need to get below. If we get back above 126, then as I said before, 126.20 just screams longs. Euro dollar and Euro Oz both have decisions to make. They're at pretty key and significant levels. Pound New Zealand. We've broken back towards 196.20, which is where our original entry was last week. Obviously, we saw a significant drop down from that level, about 160 pips, I believe, from the planned trade in the trade plan group last week. With regards to the pair and its current movements at the moment, I think there's probably a distinct possibility, if we come out to the 4-hour time frames, of us breaking back above this 96.20 region. This morning we've seen some pretty positive data come out, to be honest, and last night for the pound, it's not that it's high impact, it's just pretty positive, and at the moment any positivity that comes out surrounding almost any currency is leading to some moves. I think regarding Pound New Zealand at the moment, longs above 96.20 make a lot of sense. If we reject away or we fail to break back above that level, then naturally we can turn our attentions to the shorts. Shorts back down to 9 would likely lead back to 94.20. If we were to reject this level and push back to the downside, we're probably likely to come into that 94.20 region and then see where we obviously go from there. So there's a lot of potential in Pound New Zealand for moves either side. We're just hinging around this level and we need to see proper confirmations away from it. I don't think realistically if we were to reject away, we're probably not going to get an entry until somewhere around 95.80, 95.60, somewhere in that ballpark, which is absolutely fine. Like I say, we've got a decent target, so we can afford to give a little bit away on our entry. Our stop loss probably going to need to be above 96 though, so please take that into account. Probably likely going to come out of this with around about a 3-1. Longs above, obviously, we can just place our stop losses around the 80 level, give ourselves a 30 pip stop loss, and for a target back up at 198, we have obviously a significant gain on our hands should that option present itself to us. So this morning, is pretty much the theme of this week, to be honest, so far, is just patience. Sitting on your hands and being prepared to do absolutely nothing, because as things stand at the moment, there aren't really any clear-cut positions that have presented themselves to us. Therefore, anything we look to take at the moment would be just a little bit surrounding gambling, and that's obviously not a game that we are interested in or one that we want to play. I did just say I wanted to have a quick look at Euro New Zealand. Now, I don't think I've got a Euro New Zealand chart marked up, so you need to bear with me for 2 seconds. I do have one, but it's very old, clearly. Need to bear with me for 2 seconds while I mark a chart up. That shouldn't take very long. I'll just come through. Just need to put some key levels in. Obviously these are quite rough because they are just being done very quickly this morning. Probably actually pretty comfortable with that. Wrong one. just come to the 4 hours quickly, 2 seconds. Just don't particularly like having like these big levels through my charts anymore. Rather try and simplify things if I can. So I'm just going to use this one. Where is that lower level? Do we not have one lower than that? Alright, this will do. Don't need much more than this. Euro New Zealand at the moment, surrounding a very pivotal and key area. Like I said, the Euro's been on a bit of a tear. New Zealand dollar has been pretty weak, as we can see when we look back over that pound New Zealand chart just now as well. So Euro New Zealand, we've seen this steady push to the upside, but we look as if momentum might be starting to fall out of the pair at the moment. Looking towards potential downside for the pair, it looks as if we might have a good sorry. It looks as if we might have a good opportunity should we break back below 69.20 for a potential entry back down. If we can get through 69.20, the chances are we come down into 67, 68, so that would be a pretty good trade. 68.50 almost certainly. I'm more interested in the longs above, considering the way that Euro, Oz, Pound New Zealand is setting up. I don't particularly like just taking off the rejection here. We probably want to wait for the highs to be taken out. So somewhere around 69.80 or 70, the whole number, would probably be a pretty good place to look for an entry. Do I want to get involved before we have... See, yeah, I would get involved above the whole number, but be prepared that you might need to take profit at the 50 level. If we can get through 70.50 though, then it's pretty easy to see that 71.50 and 72.50 are the next places to visit. So as things stand at the moment, I don't think I'd want to be involved in the pair until the whole number goes. It just seems silly to get involved at 80 when you've got that level above. But Euro New Zealand above the whole number is certainly a possibility. Or if we were to break the lows, you'd definitely take a short position back down somewhere into 67.20 as an overall target. Pound CAD I just wanted to look at as well, with obviously Euro CAD breaking to the upside, Dollar CAD looking to break to the upside. Is there potential for a trade here? Above 73.50 for Pound CAD would be the logical scenario at the moment. I'm trying to get back through that region. We will soon see where we get to, but for the most part I can definitely envision that we're not going to break above that region at the first time of asking. We're probably quite likely to need to come back to the downside at some point. So yeah, we shall see how things progress and where things go from there. But I think as things stand at the moment, we just need to kind of sit on our hands a little bit. There doesn't seem to be any possible entries at the moment. But yeah, so above 73.50, below 72, don't like anything in between. So again, just sit on your hands kind of day. Wait for these entries to come. Dollar Swiss looks like a possible potential. That Swiss yen all the way back down. If you're already involved, then happy days. If not, like I say, getting through this 1810, 1820 region is key. If we can get through there, then that continuation back down to 1780 is almost certain. Euro USD, if we reject back below 1880, then we have the potential position from there. Above 1920, I will look to take longs, and that will also play into dollar CAD shorts. As things stand, it looks like the dollar looks to be strengthening up ever so slightly. Gold below 125 is what I'm waiting for at the moment. If 125, 1725 even, is taken out, then I will look to enter gold shorts. That will go in nicely with Euro USD and dollar CAD. Dollar CAD longs, Euro USD shorts if they come into play. Dollar Swiss longs. So there's a lot riding on dollar strength today. And then obviously we'll see how that affects the euro, certainly surrounding these little pairs where we're getting these squeezes and these little wedges. You can see also with dollar CAD that we've got a similar situation forming. We've got this wedge, so above 150 would lead to 150.50. I just don't want to get involved until 50.50 is taken out. But I hope everyone has a decent day. Whatever you're up to, be sensible, be safe, and I will catch